Melody. I tried something new today to try to make these videos a little more interesting because, to be honest, I watched them and thought, I'm kind of boring. And so I appreciate you for watching, but I was trying to make it more interesting, and I realized that I can't multitask. So I really cannot bake and do a video at the same time. So now I'm left trying to do a video on grief whenever all I want to do is laugh at myself right now. So you're going to have to just bear with me. But I do appreciate you guys for watching. And I am still going to bake a little bit. I already have my dough formed here for biscuits. I am making biscuits and gravy because that is something that I learned to make from my nanny, my grandma. But we always called her Nanny, and she was such an important person in my life, and I am going to attempt to share with you some things that I learned from her today. Not just biscuits and gravy, but life lessons. Now, grief is something that we all face. And losing my nanny 3 years ago was something that was the hardest thing that I have faced, to be honest, emotionally. And she was somebody that I called every single day, and I still want to sometimes. Now, grief is mentioned in the Bible a lot, actually. David uses word pictures like, I am weary with my groaning. All the night make I my bed to swim. I water my couch with my tears. And that's in Psalm 6:6. That sounds like a lot of grief. And I know a lot of us have been in that place where we felt like all night long all we could do was cry. Or it hits you in random places like making biscuits and gravy or doing laundry or doing the dishes, because it makes you think about the person that you missed or miss. And it can seemingly hit you out of nowhere and you don't know what to do with that grief. And I just want you to know that it's okay. It's okay to randomly cry throughout your day whenever you think about the person that you miss, or even the thing that you wish could have been. But it's important that we learn from these experiences. It's important that we keep the memories alive, yes, but allow them to do something in you, to change you for the better, not for the worse. I've seen a lot of people use grief as a way to not move forward, as an excuse to be held back. That is something that is very detrimental and will harm you and the ones around you. So some things that I've learned from my nanny. One was to love. My grandma loved with all of her heart. Her house was always open. We had visitors constantly. Some we knew, some we didn't. We always had more than enough food because we never knew who was going to be showing up for dinner. And it didn't matter to her the kind of person they were. It didn't matter if they were related or not. If they needed something and she could give it, she did. And so whenever I think of my grandma, I try harder to be just like that. I try to look for areas where I can love a little bit better, not just in my own home, but out of my home. You're in a different area besides my living room today. You're in my kitchen. But I don't have a very big house. I do not have an extra bed to loan to anybody. We are packed in here. But I've had people sleeping on my couch. I've had people sleeping on my living room floor. And honestly, I really have had my boys come in my room and give my boys' room to somebody else. And I learned that from my grandma. And it makes me just realize that people are more important than things. We can get all worked up about a lot of different things in this life. But if we stop and realize that people are more important, then we'll learn to love a little bit better. Another thing that my grandma taught me was, the way that she would word it would be, let it go, Louie. Now, I tend to get a little worked up about things. I don't try to stay that way, but it is my nature to be in my feelings, I guess you would say. And hold on a second while I get these in the oven. But I tend to feel what other people say and do to me. And one thing that I remember her always just telling me was, let it go. It's not worth hanging on to. You can hear what's being said, and you can be hurt for a little bit, but don't stay that way. Let it go, forgive, and move on. And if we learn to do these things, so far I've talked about loving and letting it go, we'll find that we're letting the memory of those that we love that have gone on stay alive. Another lesson that I have learned from my grandma is to like the hard stuff. Now, this one's kind of funny because one of the things that I can remember my grandma always saying is, how much more do you like? Now, she would say this phrase whenever I was doing my homework, and she wanted to know how much longer I would be doing my homework. And so she would come in my room and she'd say, how much more do you like? And I'd look at her every time and say, I don't like any of it, Nanny. And she would laugh and we'd continue on the conversation. But over the years, I've thought about that over and over, and it's the hard stuff that can get us down. Nobody likes schoolwork. Growing up now, I don't really like housework. But if we learn to just be okay and to do it and to even like it, because without the hard stuff, we cannot become strong. We cannot grow. It doesn't mean that you're going to be walking around with a smile all the time. That's impossible. It's a fairy tale that doesn't exist and is not true joy. But if we can learn to just be content, to like it, we'll find that we grow a whole lot stronger in the end. Number 4 is to learn. So I've said the things that I've learned from my grandma is to love, to let it go, to like the hard stuff, and now to learn. I am making biscuits and gravy right now. And I've heard stories of my grandma's very first biscuits and gravy and how the biscuits were inedible. And a lot of the time we start things and it doesn't turn out right. And so because the first time doesn't start out right, we want to give up. We want to quit. It's the nature of every single one of us, I think. We have to push ourselves through that. My grandma didn't stop just because the first biscuits that she made didn't turn out good. And because she didn't stop, Biscuits and gravy became her staple. Every single one of us grandkids wanted her biscuits and gravy all the time. And now that is something that I make for my kids. One of my children asks for it for breakfast on his birthday. That's his favorite thing to eat. And it all goes back to somebody that didn't give up because something was hard. So to the one that's facing grief today, number one, you're not alone. We've all been there, and we know it's hard. There's going to be times that you weep. There's going to be times that you feel like you can't go on. But if you can learn to love, to let things go, to like the hard stuff, and to learn as you go, you will get through this. I hope that you can find somebody to pray you through what you're going through right now. But if you don't have that, just know that I prayed for every single person that's going to watch this. Even though I don't know you by name, I prayed that God would comfort those that needed this lesson the most, including myself. And I know that He will. Sincerely, Melody.